Yes, I'm waiting. Someone show us where we stop in last class.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
But
So we were trying to get the data app gets using the app gets to get the data for like you're teaching us on how to retrieve data from the front end, and you gave an example of using the students and using the students page. And one of the things we were able to point, which I could remember, was the fact that when making deal with the app gets, we're not supposed to use the verb. What we should use is that now on the pronoun. Now on the pronoun, we shouldn't get to use the verb because it doesn't work well with the verb. I think that's where I grasped the last point before there was a glitch in the network.
okay, that's fine. That's one of the things that we did. And of course, last class was a bit of recap for the persons who actually did not go back to check it. Now, can I confirm how many persons actually went back to watch it? Not to yesterday, but the previous one.
Sure.
I think can you maybe of the image the image is working, right? Can you check? Can you supervise it? Sure. Yeah, it's synced. We have emoji here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we have emoji, but that's on the chat section.
Okay, I signify on the chat section. Yes, thank you. I'm kidding. I want to be sure. Now we know what we have to do. Yes.
Sorry, sir, I didn't get actually what you asked us to signify.
How many persons went back?
It seems like your audio is a bit down, low.
That's the last class.
Yeah, you sincerely.
So I still want to confirm. I still want to confirm. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Very clear.
Very clear. Oh, thank you very much. Yes, I'm just trying to set up so that we'll also be following through and ensure that we're in sync. So one of the things I wanted to quickly note is that my background can be a little challenging and it might be having some network glitch, right? So then whatever it is, it can call my attention so that we fix up anything that needs to be fixed. And also to ensure that we are on the same page, right? Yeah, so I would like to comment on this and get back to check on the last class that we had, the last two classes that we had. And yesterday was a bit of trying to do a recap before we had the main topic, giving us the opportunity and go on with what we have to be very hard. So
Right.
hello, can you hear me? Is someone speaking? I can't hear you. Is someone speaking already? I'm going to hear you.
We can hear you, sir. We can hear you.
To suggest that all of us should mute except our facilitator.
Okay, that's fine. So yes, try to mute yourself. And if you're not speaking, thank you. So please can someone confirm again that you can see my screen and that you are good to go.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes, sir, you can see your screen.
And you can hear me, right?
We can hear you, but there is a call back. You're like you're in a place that echoes back.
Kind of. But then I don't know. Is it possible that you can kind of manage to what you're hearing? Is it, you can pick something?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. So in the last class we began to talk about or one of the things we began to reiterate the request methods that we have when accessing the server side. Barnabas. Namdi, why are you unmuted? Why are you unmuted? Okay, thank you. So am I good to go now? I just need one person to confirm.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. So when we began to learn the 5 basic requests to interacting with the server side as touching HTTP request, and then we made mention of the get request, the post request, the put request, the patch request, and the delete request. And of course, we did talk about what it all meant and what it does. So I refer you back to the video again. If you are not here, you can go back to watch that video and keep yourself abreast with what we did work on and then land. Yes. So and then we try to run this request using the Thunder client, right? Yes, and I think the Thunder client is going to pay for us. Why? Because since I'm sharing my screen, I think Telegram allows you to share a particular portion of your screen. You can't share all screen at the same time. So you have to pick a very section that you want to share. So I wouldn't want to be routing in between Postman, which is a tool for us to interact with the server side. But I'm going to be using Thunder client. So you might want to install Thunder client at your end. Yes, you might want to install Thunder client at your end. It is also fine. So what Thunder client does is, of course, is also an interface that helps us to interact with our server-side application. What that is that we are able to send requests, either a post request that is trying to put some send some data into the server side, either for interpolation, manipulation, querying, and whatever it is, or a put request, or you want to get something from the server side, right? Of course, you need to get request, and maybe you want to delete some specific data or a whole lump of data, whichever it is. Maybe it's only delete request and all that. So we're able to really just what it is to actually interact with the server side. So we did run a request where we tend to kind of where we tend to kind of send a request by getting student age to our port. Now, if you notice, I'm going to send this request and I'm going to get this response. This is the response that we get This response are the resource that we wanted to get. We say get students slash age, and then we're able to get the data that was there. So that's basically, I remember I was trying to, and these are the things that front end guys do when they want to get the details. When they want to get the account details for every account details. So for every request for every data you see on your mobile app, on your web application that changes with time, right? Actually continue from the database and also from the server side. And all these things are filled on your web app or your mobile app with the aid of the requests being sent from the front end and from the back end to the back end and all that. So this is a typical module of how the request URL looks like. Only that at this point from here to this place is we're running it locally, and because we are running it locally, and that's why you're seeing the local host port 8000. I also did talk about in our last class what is the port and how it listens to using the app function that we get from the Express framework when you when you import your app. Remember, I'm just trying to do a recap for us. When you import your app, right? You import the Express, and then you kind of destructure your app. But here we're not destructuring, just get it off. I remember also I also talked about destructuring, right? Yeah, so it's something that we're going to be doing, especially when we want to destructure from function that's returning an object, right? And then using the app that you get from the Express framework, we now begin to do the get request and all that. So today we are going to just dive into we just did one part, which is to get a request. Now today we're going to do trying to post a request, let's say from front end to the back end. So the basic one we're going to be doing today is a post request from front end, which is our client side. I remember also talking about why we make use of tools like Postman, Insomnia, and even Tonal clients. That's amazing. I saying because we do not have we do not necessarily need to have the front end at our pace. So one of the tools that we make use of as though we are interacting with the front end, which is with the mobile app on the front end, is the use of the tools. Please confirm that you can hear me and you're straight forward. That doesn't mean you're not having the okay, thank you. Yeah, so having that said, we just go through. So we'll just go through the other aspect of trying to do a get request. So I'll just copy this guy. I'll do a post request. So we do a post request and all that. So once you do a post request, once this post is here, what happens is that when you run the post, so I also talked about what this request does, right? So the request is what we make use to get the payload data. The payload data are the things that are coming from the front end that are being passed in from the front end into the back end, and then it's being used either to be saved or perhaps to be used for other things, right? Yeah, so one of the things that's for post request and all that. So that's for request, and then the response is used to send back the returns or the results or whatever you have worked on to the front end to grab, right? Let's say we're trying to register a user, because that's what we're going to do, right? And let's say you want to register a user. So we're going to leave it as like this, the way it is as the endpoint is. and then we're going to be using basic two parameters to, of course, you want to register the email and password, right? So at this moment, I will not go into how to interpolate. I mean, to kind of switch or do something with the email and password. What do we do with the email and password and all that? But then I'm just trying to give us an overview of how the post requests work and how we get details or data or payloads from the client side, which is the front end, be it web or mobile. So we're going to do something like this response, right? So we'll do now. I'm going to use two formats to do that. I'm going to use, of course, the normal array, and then also I'll use the structure to do that. So const email, of course, you're already variable for email, and I want to assign it a value. So in order to get that, I'm going to do red.body.email. Now this period here or dot is saying that inside request you will get an object called body. It's a default object in the request function. It's a default object, the body now, in the request function. So we're now saying we want to get in the request, which is here, we want to get the body, and inside the body you will get the email. Now I will still do something. Okay, maybe what I will do is I will write this down, right, and then I'll copy and paste, and then I'll show us what it looks like. So maybe here we want to get the password that is coming from the front end, and then red.body.password. Now one of the things you must take note is that the naming here, email password, must be in sync with what is coming from the front end or from the client side, hence you will not be able to get it. So this first method I did is valid. Another method is that if you do not want to do everything at once, trying to assign a variable at once, you can assign the variable once, but in a destructure format. I remember I talked about destructure, so you can go back again to the previous video where I talked about destructure from an object, right? Yes. So I will do red.body, and then I will destructure email here. I'll destructure email. Well, you can use any of the two. Me, I use any of the two anytime I'm working. Anyone that I want to do. So email and then the password. Now, why is flagging that error is because I've already assigned the variable here, so I'm trying to assign it again. It is so any of these two can actually work. But before we dive into the structure and every other thing, maybe what I want to do first is to do let's see, assign a variable called const. Let's say I'll call it body. I will still follow it. Please confirm that you can hear me and I will still follow.
We are following, sir. You're audible.
Okay, thank you very much. So then I'm going to console log. I want us to see the parameters and the objects that are inside the body, and then how we come about this red.body.email, and then how we come about structuring these guys. Well, I would have left you guys to figure that out, but then once you understand that, whenever you begin to see where you're doing the dot something, the dot period, is actually a way of trying to get a particular object, or of course object from a function, or from, of course, also from an object. Of course, you can get from an object, get an object from an object, and you can also get an object that is from a function that is returning an object. Yes. So with this, we are able to we can console log, but also we can also do res.send. Res.send means response. You are sending your response. And what are we sending? We want to send the response. Of course, now this is an object, right? An object is, remember again, I told us that an object is, what makes an object is because it's a name valued system of that is a name value system. What that means is that you have a name and then you have a value, right? So let's say we call it body, and then we call it request dot body, right? So request dot body, that's me just trying to send this particular object. Of course, I will just do I could call this guy out like that to still also go. I'll just call it a response body. So this particular line of code is going to send this to the rest to as a response once this guy is being hit and all that, and then this guy just to console log, right? And all that. Yes. So when we start the server, because the server is already this. So when we start the server, it's expected to run. But then now, I'm going to create student 8. So I'll go to this collection and I'm going to call it. I'll create a new collection. I mind this because of Telegram here now. I didn't plan to make use of Thunder client, unless to make use of Postman. But whatever we are doing here is basically the same thing. Only that the difference is going to be in the modality. It's versa. Only that the difference is going to be the modality. So I'm going to call this Pora BE, which is backend, just a collection. Oh my. Should have press enter. New collection called Pora, and then I'll call it backend, and I'll press enter, and then boom. Then I will create a request, a new request, and then the new request will be, I'll remove this. Okay, we have a new request. So I'm going to create a new request here, a new request, and I'll give it a name. Okay, the first one we did was get student, right? Get student. I'll press enter, but then I have to use HTTP local, and then I'll save it so that of course I reach it. Of course, okay, this connection was refused. Why? Because we have not started our server. Is it true? Yes. The server is not yet running. So I want to pull this guy up. Yes, I want to pull this guy up so that you will see and then clear my terminal and then do npm run start. Of course, we have also tried to set up our node right? Of course, I've spoken about what node does and how it works. So if you don't have an idea, please I refer you back again to the last 2 classes and even the last class. So now I hit the request and boom, we're able to get these resources, right? Or this data submit. So the next one which we are now talking about is the push request. So what I'll do is I'll just duplicate this enough for me not to type in again, and then I'll just change the name. I'll just rename it to register now. So I want to register a user, right? So because we want to register, I'm going to use not the get request but the push request, as I've explained in 2 of our classes. So now, if you check from, if you check from the request, we are doing the post request and followed by the parameter as the URL here, which enables us to get hold of the resources that we want to get. It might not be get, but then it might need some interpolations or some manipulations with the data that we are sending. But anytime you say post request, literally what that means is that the client side, be it web, be it mobile, be it any thing that represents the client, trying to send some data from the mobile app or from the web app to the server. And that's what happens when we talk about push requests. Push requests and all that, they do that, only that in the context of what they do, what they try to achieve and all that. So because it's registered, we'll go back here, we say 8,000, it means our port is already listening to any request that has to do with 8,000 locally. And then the moment he has been able to figure out that, okay, they are calling my name and I'm port 8,000, my name is port 8,000. And then if this URL, which is the parameter URL here, is being attached to, what automatically he just sends this to the particular function which is this function, this post function here, is responsible for doing some interpolations with the data that are going to be sent. Now, I'm going to do something and then I will tell you why we are not okay. I want you to figure that no, I will still tell you. So now, in the process of trying to send or to post a request so that the server side will catch. Please, can you still hear me? Are you following? I want you to confirm that one, you can hear me, secondly, you're following.
You're all digital.
Yes, we are following.
Okay, thank you very much. Look at. Okay, so now the moment you notice, the moment I click on the body, and I begin to see list of what are the kind of data I want to send. Is it a JSON data? Is it an XML data? Is it a text? Just another text? Is it a form? Is it a form code? Is it a GraphQL? Is it a binary? Of course, binary you want to select images. Don't worry, we'll get to that and all that. But then binaries are used if you want to send an image file, when they send a PDF. I believe you have been on a platform before. I believe you have been on the platform before where they say you should upload your WIAC results, NECO results. Yes. So now these are, and those WIAC results,
Yes.
results that we get.
Yeah.
Once we get it, this is the form that the backend. This is how the form is. It's going to look like. From the front end, they're going to collect something that looks like a binary. Of course, they'll collect your normal PDF, transform it. The system knows how to transform it to a binary. And then the binary is what is sent to the backend. Then we now transform it back to either your PDF file or your image that you scan and all that. And then if you want to save it, if you want to check through, of course, using AI to do other things on that image to check whether it validates. Maybe some of you, some persons will come and say they have 9 credits, no, and it's just 4 credits and all that. So of course, and they also save it for future references and all that. So that's the binary. And GraphQL, is another. Okay, I'll not dive into that now. And then we have the form encode. Okay, that's for encoding of files using form data. Don't worry, we'll still get to that. What I'm not talking much about that is that I want us, when I'm beginning to talk about that, this is going to be more practical. And also, this is for form data. Yes, it's another thing that when we begin, we will need it also. Then for text, sending us a normal text, an XML, and JSON. But then the one we are going to be doing today, and the one that you will be seeing again and again and again and again and again, is the JSON data. And the JSON data, or the JSON format, means, what is JSON? JSON means JavaScript object notation. JavaScript object notation. It means when you are having a construct of a notation of object in JavaScript. If you guess what I just did now was that I used the name JavaScript object notation to define what JavaScript object notation is. So basically, I've been explaining to you again and again what an object looks like, or how an object looks like. Like I said, it's a name value pair. It means that if it has a name, right, like this, which is the name, it could be car, and then with the full column comes in what? The value. Maybe let's say Toyota. Now that's what makes an object an object, and also because it is enclosed in a curly bracket. Anytime you see anything like this anywhere, either it has been assigned a value, let's say const details. The moment you cite it, you should be able to know that this guy is an object, right? But then we're not going to assign a value. We don't assign values here. It's not assigned values here. Here we just send it as a JavaScript object notation, and it's cached. And also, so in this format, in your code base to write the JavaScript object notation, all you just need is to look at something like this here. Also, you will notice that from here to this is an object, right? Because with this curly bracket, right, it has a name, and then here is the value, right? Now, if you notice here, there's no is this double quotes here or a single quotes? I don't know if there's an apostrophe. It's called, I don't know, anyone. But then you will not see any of that here because you're already in the code, and this is what your JavaScript in the code understand. But when you're now interacting with it outside the code using tools like Thunder Client and the rest, Now, once you have it named like this, even on Postman, you have to put it in a full in a double quote like this. So with this, when it's in a double quote, is now understood. And then the value, as long as it is not an integer, a number. We have talked about integers, we have talked about boolean, we have talked about strings, we have talked about what again, and all of that. As long as it is not an integer or a boolean, you have to put it in a double quote. That's why you're seeing this error here. This X is saying expected R instead of O. I don't know what that means, but then once now you see that's gone. But if it was an ordinary number, let's say an ordinary number, if it's an integer, let's say 26 or 67, you see there's no error. If it is a boolean is true or false, and I type in true, you see there is no. And also one thing I want you to quickly note is that you cannot have double name there with even a different value. So let's say this is a now you can't have something like this. Automatically it's flagging. You can't have kaka here. You can't send it two variables at the same time. No, it doesn't work. It can't even work. Only work right there. It will not work. Or you can have something like, let's say car2 to work. Right now, also note that after this particular line, I have to put a comma. Of course, it is your normal convention of writing an object when you're going to have other fields and data like that, right? And again, in form data, in Thundercline, Insomnia, Postman, I also found out that once you can't put a semicolon here, sorry, a comma here on the last field of data. But if it's in your code, you can actually do that. For instance, if I go back here and I want to add another request here, let's say age, right? Of course, I'm going to do like this, right? Sorry, age, right? And then let me say I copy and paste this guy. And also, if you notice, you can bring it here like response body. But you can do that on your data, on the ID, sorry, not the ID, on the Postman, the text tools that we're using, that Postman or Thundercline, right? You can't use that there, but you can, of course, try it here. But the thing is that when you try it here, what happens because JavaScript runs from top to bottom. If this guy was red.body, let's say this guy, the output was going to be 1, right? And the here is going to be 2. Instead of it to render 1 and 2, what it will do is that it will just pick 2 because it will override this particular line of 47 will override line 46, right? Yes, so you have to give a bit of difference. Now, what I wanted to even show you before I came was the fact that, oh my Jesus, oh God. So, what I wanted to show you here is that there was a comma here, right? And it did not flag. So even I add or remove because this is the last field in an object, it did not flag. But then when if you try that here, it's going to flag. Yeah, so did we follow up to this point?
Yes, sir.
We are following back to back.
Okay. Follow to be are you following? Follow to be are you following? Fee. Nelson.
I'm following, sir.
Who just responded? Is it Nelson?
Yeah, Nelson.
Okay. Chidi,
With you, sir. With you.
Olaliko.
I'm with you, sir.
Okay. Ura Ola.
I'm with you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And okay. Actually, it's down. Let me just speaking from my phone, from my system, to allow you such a little bit to make use of it. Yeah, so I'm just giving some seconds to fix that because we are talking to Hello, I was still together. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, so now we want to send in password. Now from the register body we have wanted to send in some details so that the back end can do something with it. So the first thing is what? The email, right? Which are going to, that's the payload, and then the email is going to be, because it's not an integer, which is a string. The string is a bunch of gibberish. Yeah, I can just call it a bunch of gibberish. The email can be valid, but it can be a bunch of gibberish, right? Yeah, so let's see, luca@gmail.com, and then comma, oh my, sorry, then comma, I'll copy and paste this guy again. Well, I will type that if I find things to do in a very easy way, I'll just have to do it in a very easy way. So the password, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Right? So now if you notice there's an error here, you find an error here because of this comma, so I want to remove it. You also see that there is a postman and even insomnia. So now let's check out something which will lead us to the next thing I want to talk about. So now I'm hitting this guy, boom, and I'm getting a response of 200, but nothing is coming out. I'm expecting something to actually come out. We're expecting that a response body should actually come out. But let me remove this guy, and since I'm done with and then I need the Control X to help me restructure this whole thing. So now if you notice, I'm not getting anything substantial. There is no response. There's nothing that's been sent. Why is it like that? Why is it that we're unable to get? And notice I want to get things that were sent. But if I tend to come and do, let's say, I type in, let's say, message as an object, and then in the message is a string, it means user successfully registered, right? And then let's hit the endpoint again. Where is it? When I mean hit the endpoint, means let's send another request again. Of course, an endpoint. Now you notice that only this message came in as a response. Why? Because for every of the endpoints, the default is that you can send a response that is being generated inside. But then it's trying to send a response that comes in from the admin. Sorry, I said admin. My God, sorry. From the payload. That is, you got something from the front end and then you want to send it back. Haven't interpolated, haven't done something. How do you now send it back? Is what we're trying to check. Now, at the moment, we are unable to get the data first. Why? And if you check you check my terminal, you will see that what we try to console log, the body wanted the console log is showing undefined, means they can't find any data there. Now, this is because this leads me to a very important part of what we call application middleware. Please confirm that you can hear me before I go further to begin to talk about that aspect.
Application middleware.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, what is an application middleware? Oh my, I think I don't even need to talk about that. You know why? Because I sent in the PDF, a very small cheat sheet of PDF that just one page that has to do with every other thing that has to do with this thing. If you have not gone through it, well, that's it for you. If you have gone through it, you would have seen application middleware. Okay, did someone go through it and saw that application middleware? Can someone talk about?
But I think I saw it somewhere. so that when you want to do post a request like that, since there is no body is undefined in the request, so we are going to use a middleware to attach to integrate body into the request so that you can have it on the postman like that.
But then you just try to tell us what how to use middleware body and all that. You have not told us what the middleware is.
The one that I saw on our app, on the one that I saw on this app, we say app. That uses a function. Then we will pass everything inside. Then it will give us.
Okay, well, you did try. At least you attempted. Is anybody that wants to attempt what the middleware is? Yes. Can we have some insights on what the middleware is? While I try to confirm that I'm still recording. Okay, let's see. Yes.
The middleware is more like the parameter. It acts like a gatekeeper. Like it's like a gatekeeper that is used before the request, before the GET request and the POST request. I don't know if
okay,
like the GET request and the POST request.
Yes, that's I will give you let's say 4.5 over 10. 4.5 over 10. Yes, only that you only use it in one context, and that's why I'm giving you that 4.5 over 10. So anyone wants to still kind of attempt what it is? Yes, go on. Who's that? I'm waiting. Middleware. Yes. You guys have left me.
Just as you have said, middleware is like a function between that is between request and response, and it allows us to manipulate whatever request before we get the response, something like that. The way you said it is what I was understanding.
Okay, so basically, what is the middleware? Middleware, like you all said, you are true, you said the right thing. But then middleware is functions, the methods that are being put that stand in as a gatekeeper, like the brother said. But for him, he made use of the context for a GET request and POST request. No, they are necessarily not for both. They're not just only for POST requests and other requests, but they are being used as a gatekeeper to the application or to the resource, and that's why we now have two types of middleware. And that's why we have two types of middleware. We have the application middleware, and then we have the resource middleware. So what that means is that for every application, like when we begin to write about middlewares, for the application to return any response, it has to pass through the middleware first. It has to interact with the middleware first because it's serving as the gatekeeper. So when you run, like now, if you notice what I've been doing, app when we're trying to do localhost /8000 get students age that we did in one of our requests, right? You will notice that that's here when we did this particular request. There was nothing actually checking it. There was no gatekeeping. There was nothing checking through to see anything that was coming in. So it will just check in and go. But then when we begin to bring in middlewares, the first point of contact after this 8,000 port 8,000 here, for this port 8,000, the first thing it hits is the middleware. So the middleware tries to check, what are you trying to do? Now it gives this particular endpoint or the client the kind of resource or the kind of engagement for that particular app or for that particular resource or endpoint you want to get. Now for the resource middleware, they are also like gatekeepers that we tend to add or put in the requests. in the particular request or the functions that tends to respond to provide us the resources that we need. So in the you will find middlewares, especially the application middlewares, always in the entry points of the app. In the entry points of the app, you find middlewares, application middlewares in the entry point of the app, except when you are creating instances of the applications that you tend to move them off from the of course here we have index.js, which is the file which has been the entry point to another place, or else you will have to you have to leave them here. But then now for resource middleware, you have to put them in between the request. You have to put them in the request or in the resources. Now if you notice, we want to get for here for this particular part, we want to register. We might want to put in a middleware here, which can do a function. There might be an object, but then usually it's a function where before we tend to get anything, maybe I should demonstrate I should just try one so that we will see. Okay, maybe let's go on to do the post request first, and then I'll now introduce us to what middleware is. But that's for the resource middleware, right? Yeah, but now for the application middleware, there are methods and functions that usually are either as a package or they are pre-built. Pre-built means that they follow the Express framework that we're using. Of course, if you're using NEST, it has its own middleware, pre-built middlewares and all that. And then other ones that are kind of coming, right? Yes, so this is something that we need to take note. So now we wanted to just register a user and then we send in an email and password and all that, but we're even unable to get the data that are coming from the user. When I mean the user, I mean the client, which is at this point we're using Thunder client. Of course, you can use Postman, you can use Insomnia and other tools out there. Even Swagger UI, there's another called Swagger UI. Of course, it's one of the I've used it and then I've loved it. But then it has its own pros and cons. I think it's the pros or the cons that has made me not to be a fan of it, because you have to be writing code your documentation as though you're writing a code, which is one of the things that did not make me to actually like it. But then it's something that you can actually do with. Because some organizations you can come in, they will not use Postman, they will not use Thunder client, they will not use Insomnia. They will want to make use of Swagger UI, so you have to learn it. You have to put it at the back of your. Yes. So having said that, here now, because we could not get things that are coming from the user or from the client, is because we have not add up the application middleware that tends to check what kind of format is coming in. So with that leads us to the next place where we're going to add our application, one of the application middlewares. So the first thing that I'm going to be adding here first is the Express URL encoded and also the Express.json. Now these guys actually allows us to be able to pass in data, either an encoded form. Remember when we're talking about this guy, remember form encoded, either in this format or in JSON format. So this form and form encoded can work for when we use Express URL encoded, or we make use of JSON, or yes, for JSON. So now let me just quickly type them in. So this is to write the middleware, that is the previous middleware, make use of app.use and the particular middleware you want to make use of. So in this case, we want to use Express, which is a middleware for us to be able to get URL encoded data or coded that are coming in that are encoded, right? So we do it this way, and then we pass in a parameter just to that's the extended parameter to extend through all the methods that we have. So extended through, set it to true, right? And then the next one that we need to pass in is Express JSON. I have to copy and paste, of course. If you have noticed, I would just like to do copy and paste. Well, in this place, you might refuse not to add anything. Of course, you can leave it dormant here, or you might put a limit of whatever limit you want to put in. But the limit is just like to limit the amount of data that are going to be coming in from the front end or from the client end. But of course, you can as well leave it in this format. I tell you, it also scale, right? Yeah. So that's that about that, right? So another thing I want us to quickly look at and check on is okay, yes. So when we have this guy set, right? So then let's go and try to register again. Let's hit the register, and if you notice what happened, we no longer have the message. We now have the response body. Of course, I was the one that gave you the response body here. So if I go back and go back to the app, it's because I called it what response body. And also, if you take note and look at initially, if you notice, we were getting undefined. Now we have email local@gmail.com and then password. Now this is how the front end tends to send data from the back end to the front end. And once you are done interpolating the data, you can now send it as what? As a response to the front end to show that you have done something. So maybe now I'm going to remove these guys and then do a conventional way of trying to do one or two things. Now, okay, but maybe before then, okay, this is the response body. I believe we are still following. Please, can you confirm that you're still following?
Yes, sir. We are following.
Okay. So now when we did red.body and then we sent it forth here, we were able to get register as a student, we were able to get the message. Now, well, have you noticed you try to create an account and then you are greeted with the success message that you have successfully created an account? That message you are seeing usually comes from the back end. It's not front end. So this is the kind of the format of the message you see. User successfully registered, or welcome to the app. Now that you are registered, kindly kini and all that. And this all those messages comes from where from the backend, and this is like the format of, and then we tend to send in the response back. Now, mind you, we are not sending this password back as 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. Of course, we can't do that. We don't do that. That will introduce us, maybe the next section will introduce us to what we call hashing. Passwords that are being sent for registration, even with the program on the backend, we do not have an idea of what the password is, because we would have hashed the password before saving. The moment we can have an idea of what the password is, it means first we are the thieves, right? And then, of course, it means that the app is vulnerable, that hackers can actually access. So the moment if I hash this password, okay, now let me give you a bit of what is now. So let's say this guy comes in, he comes in here, right? Let me clear the account clear. So he comes in here and then wants to register with his name, email, and password. And then once I'm done, and then I get the password, and I want to, what do I do with the password, right? And then I might do one or two interpolations, hash the password, attach something, and then send it back. Of course, we don't need to send the password back. No, not at all. Because even as much as we're going to hash the password, we don't send the hash password back. Because hackers can decrypt the hash somehow. It will only just take time. If it will take them 1 year, as long as an AI trying to regenerate until they get what made them hash the password, they're able to get access to that particular user. So there's no need to even, of course, it's not a good practice to send back the password. But in the case of trying to show us a bit of what is happening, that's why I had to show us what it is. So if you notice, what we did was that we send back request.body, right? But I'm not going to send back request.body in this case again. So I'm going to remove this line first, right? So if we try it again, it only shows that the message has been shown successfully. Yes, let me drag this guy up now because the message will have come up. Yes, user successfully registered, or you have successfully onboarded yourself. Anything that might want to come from your end. So the moment you do that, now I was talking about method of destructuring, right? So I began to talk about method of getting the response or the payloads, the inputs, the requests from the user. Now I made mention of trying to destructure it one like this, where you have a const email red.body.email, right? Red.body.password, and then like that. And I also talked about destructuring, right? So if I attempt to any of these ways, is the same thing. Well, this is JavaScript way of destructuring. You can find it much more in JavaScript. You don't find it in PHP. PHP does not have destructuring, not at all. I'm not sure, but JavaScript has a way of destructuring. Oh, but Golang has another. Oh my, Golang for kind of language. Yes, it has another structure of doing wonders with variables and objects coming in and all that. So that's something you can take note. So we might want to come and send this guy out as what is email and password is also gone. Now another thing I will want to talk about, or just sort of talking about, it just escaped my memory. Okay, the password. You would have successfully gotten the details and then the structure and then console log. Right? I'm trying to grab something. I'm just trying to think about something. I wanted to say just now. Okay, I believe it will stay coming while we go. So you can once you destructure, you might want to send it. Okay, but then let's quickly check something. Let's check on. Okay, let's use this guy here, body. And now I was talking about initially. I said when you do request dot body, it means you're trying to get an object that is found in the request and then inside the object you say password. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to console log. No, I'm going to send as a response this request, and then let's see what is inside and how we got about this red.body.password, red.body.email. And also note it could be like this also. It could be, let's say, first name. It could be first name. If the first name, and then of course ensure that it must be the same here. I mean, when I mean the same here, like from the red.body, it might be the same thing you are passing in from the body. It must be red.body first name if you want to get those in singularity, right? Yes. So first name like this. So it must be the name you are passing. When I mean the name, it means the name here. If you come and do first name, let's say you came here and then let's say you came in here and then you did something like this, and then you did first name. You now use camel case. It will not scale. Let me use Luca. It will not be, your body will show, but you will not be able to grab it as touching when you want to destructure or to do anything with it. Right? It has to be. Then for you to get it, has to be what? First name. So it means the naming convention from the front end must be in sync with what is at the back end. And that is why for every application they build, the front end guys can start building and all that with their UIs before integration. Now before they start integration, the back end is already structured on how to wanting to get the application. And that is why it is the naming convention, the nomenclature we give the front end guys that they tend to really use to access the sending data or to get some do some interpolations. Are we still together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, having said that, who has a question?
This is Nelson, sir.
Okay, go on, Nelson.
All right. You said when the front end and the back end needs to work together, there's a way the structure of the communication between the back end and the front end application needs to be embedded. So I wanted to know, is it the way the JSON file will be structured so that each component from the front end knows what to pick from the back end, or how is that structured?
I'm not getting your question. I mean, say you're not loud enough for me to get your question. Because what I'm using to translate. Can you speak louder? That's what I'm trying to say. Speak louder, please.
Can you hear me clearly, sir?
Mm-hmm. Go on.
All right. I said I'm just asking concerning the way the front end and the back end intercommunicate together. The structure of the JSON file from the back end, is it what will determine the way the front end is structured? The data input, is it the way it's structured? That's the way the back end must structure its data.
Okay. Now, I'll answer the question depending on who starts the project first. But usually, for the projects I've been on, I detect what the format of the JSON the format of the JSON data is going to be, right? So you might have your form name, of course, the name nomenclature at your end might be anything. But the moment you were able to get the data and you want to format it in a JSON to send to the backend, in order for it to give the response that is required, you must format it to be with respect to what the particular endpoint is looking forward to see. I don't know if you have answered that question.
Yes, sir. I also wanted to ask the structure of the JSON file, of the JSON data. Does arrangement matters? For example, if you structure yours maybe email as the first data in the object created from the backend. For example, as this is now, email is first, followed by password, then first name. From the front end, is it a mode that it must follow the same chronological order, basically?
Not at all. It must not. You might take this password like this now, this one. You can take it and go and drop it at the last. As long as password is in the JSON format, I can. Of course, we have talked about this one. Right? JSON does not actually look at the where it's being put in. No, not at all. It can be anywhere as long as the data is there, the name and the value is there. What it's looking at for is that once it searches through the JSON, it's able to see the name, and then of course you can use the name to get the value. I don't know if you're cutting that. The same way too that structured it. I don't need to say email, password, first name. I can come in and put in this first name at the first. That's me, that's preference. But then we don't want to just be going haphazardly without doing the right thing. You might not want to do that, isn't it? But because you want to just put your things in alignment. For me, I like alignment. Yes, I know that the first thing that came is email. Even the way I structure my model, don't worry, we'll get to model. What are models? Models helps us to structure the kind of data that will be in the database. Yeah, so your database details in MongoDB we call it collections or documents. They're going to be structured in the way your model is structured. In fact, React, Node.js, and some of their frameworks make sure what we call MVC. MVC means model view controller. It means that for you to access a particular page or a particular point, it has to have a model. Because it's going to have a model, the model will control the view. I think that's also a short understanding of what it is. It has a model, and the model will control the view. Yeah, so something like that. But then when you begin to do more practical, you understand this definition I just gave that, because you can't get a view that you do not model that is being controlled. And you see that? Yeah, so that's why it's an MVC. And that's the format. React is built with MVC. Node.js also MVC and all that. So I'm not going to begin much more in details. We begin to touch those powers. Yeah, when we begin to touch those powers, and you will see the difference and all that. So that's one thing I actually want us to see. So now we wanted to hit this and then check in what the difference are. So, oh my, what is the error? We get 500 internal server error. Yeah, so I want you to take note of some of these errors, internal server error. So whenever you see a 500 error, it means that the error is coming from the server. Anytime you even see data online, or you see it somewhere on your code base, that one they are usually default, except you set your error handlers. We also talk about that. What are error handlers? It enables us to handle errors per time, right? So with this, you are able to do some strong things and all that. But okay, wait, I wanted to send in a request and then it did not show. Let me try it again. Okay, so let me at this time let's try to uncomment this guy and then I might not be surprised that it is Docker clients that is not allowing us to interact with what we wanted to interact with. So let's say I'll try it again. Okay, I still get that same error. Let me try it. Let me check response. This man. Okay. The problem is trying to convert this guy to circular structure. Converting circular structure to JSON is object whatever. Okay. If I was to use, I believe I was to use Postman, of course, it will give me a robust understanding or robust response. I mean to say, right? So, well, I just wanted to show us how we get to rec.body and then other parameters that you can find in the request. Of course, you can see rec.body, rec.headers, rec.params, rec.query, and other ones also. You can also build in some parameters into your request. And this is some of the things that are going to be coming in from the front end. So, does anyone have any other question before we go further to making use of other endpoints, other request methods that we have, just to give us some overview? Are we together? Are we still together? Hello.
We are together.
Yes, sir.
Any question? Any question for your boy?
Together.
No question for me. No question. Okay, that's fine. So okay, so I've been able to deal with this guy. So the next one I want to talk about is let's say a put request. What does a put request does? Of course, you use a put request. Put request is that whenever let's say you have you have to take details. You have to take the details of at the point of registration here. You are able to get the email and password of the client. Please confirm you can hear me before I begin to give this instance.
Audible, sir.
Can hear you.
Okay. So now let's say, of course, it's a practical experience that some of you guys have experienced. You went on a mobile application or a web application, you created an account using an email and password. The moment you got into the app after you were signed up and logged in, the next thing that we were told to do was to go and update your details. Have someone experienced that before?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I believe if you have not experienced it, some of you that are using OP accounts, you have experienced it before. Yes, so you are told to go and update your account, either to add other extra details like your date of birth and all that. Trying to do that, the request that you are to send forth to do that is the put request. It means you are trying to put an extra layer of data into an already existing data. So let's have an example. Let's say here we have, please follow through and see what I'm going to do. Let's say we have here const user details, right? I'm going to be using a snake case, which I love to use. And then we have the details, we have the name, we have it as local, and then we have the age. Local should be, I don't know, maybe local is in 5, right? Now, this is the data that local had. No, sorry, let's not use this at the moment. Luca had added his email, right? And his email was what? Assuming this was already what he already has, that this is the details he already had when he created an account, right? We remember we did something like Luca at gmail.com, right? Oh my, Luca, oh god, Luca, what? Luca at gmail.com, and then we had the password. Remember I said again, we don't for security sake we don't send for the password, but in this example we're just going to do that just for example sake. So his password was 129, right? And then these were the details he provided. But then he wants to update his account. So you don't come and say update, which is not bad, but then it's actually not a conventional way. But then I'm going to do that, right? For the sake of this example for us to get. Hence, it's going to be something like okay, let me leave that update because yes, update, right? So it's not a verb at least at the moment. Yeah, so is it whichever? But then I remember we talked about the naming convention for endpoints, like pronouns and not verbs, right? Yeah, so well here we just try to sample that he wants to update an account and all that. And then we assume that these are the already details they already have. But then Luca is still going to update with his name and pass with his name and other details that our application might be requesting for. I'm going to remove here. And let's say part of the thing that Luca is going to be sending us is his full name. And because of my nature of we're going to be using snippets, so he's going to send us his full name and then his and then also his age. And once again, let's say his address, right? And it's going to come from the request. But now this time I'm using destructuring. I'm not a fan of destructuring yet. In fact, mine I usually even go words by instead of doing something like this or try to do something like cons full name and then do reg.body dot full name. It's flagging it because we have already called the full name. You can't call it twice, right? Yeah, so yes, I'm waiting for it. Okay, it's an equal sign. Yeah, so reg dot full name like that, and then we kind of have it for the three things we want to get. Let's say the age. Okay, I will have commented this out. Let me copy this guy, put it back, put this one, and then just comment it out. And then we have the age, and then maybe, of course, you want to pick an age. And then the last one is the address. I'm showing you a bit of some of these things so that when we begin the app, we will not say, why is it doing this? You might try out, you might now, while we are doing, you might have your own preference of the kind of things that you like. But when we are on the project and we are the same, and we are already choosing the architecture and the style, you have to follow everything you come and find. Yes, so you don't be a rebel. Yes, when you rebel is bad. It's so bad. Yes, so and then like this, right? So that we are now trying to update Lucas details from the other details he's providing, right? So what we need to do is that in the object we pass in the age, or let's start with the full name. Like I told, I like things being in order, so we pass in the name and the name, right? Since we have already gotten it from here, all I need to do is just to carry the variable here and then attach it, isn't it? The comma here. You see now, it means we are going to get the full name that is coming from the request of body of full name, which is from the client. Then we now append it inside the object, right? Yeah, so it's either I use this format or also I come again and then I pick the age, and then append the age, comma, and then the last one is the address, and then address. Isn't it? Will we go up to this point?
Sorry, can you tell me what it was?
Well, are we together? Did we follow up to this point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ura, ura, ura. Unity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My on-site sister. Did you follow up to this place?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, you see, what I did was trying to get the details one. Oh. But then I might want to use the destructured format. That is this. You notice it still gives us the same. There's no error, no flagging of error. Now I now told you that mine can be very bad. That instead of me doing either destructuring or trying to assign to a variable, I will not do that too. I will just come and carry the structure from the request body and just dump it here. Boom, it still works. Yes. Boom, like this. Come on, drop it here. Well, this format actually got to me when I was on a project with one senior engineer and who actually did help my life. And it was part of the persons that boosted the whole thing that I actually learned today. So it was a bit of, I saw what he was doing and then I kind of liked it. So you are going to like what I'm doing. You have to like it. Yeah, so for me, I will just destructure it, or I will not even destructure, I'll just pick it up from the body like that. And then boom, I'll drop it here. Yeah, so I haven't done that. Anyways, it works, right? So I'm just showing this that anyone who try to make it off, like you notice what I've successfully done, you can do it and it will work. So in the case of you keep things simple, is either we structure or we make use of the name. Anyone, it works. That's why I'm doing it here. So with this, and then we haven't done that, we're going to now send the details back to the user that we have updated the details. And that's why when you, after you have updated the details, you get your dashboard, you begin to see your age, because when you imputed those things and then you successfully submitted, you're now seeing those details. So those details you are seeing is the same format of what we are going to be sending back after we have done, we have saved it at the front end, at the back end, sorry, and in this in the database, right? So now we'll go back to the form, right? And then we'll create another form. Now, if you notice, this is another third endpoint we are going to create, another third API, another third of course, another third API, another third endpoint in order to interact and all that. Yeah, so application programming interface. Application programming interface. That's the name of API. Right, so now I'm going to duplicate this. Like I said, I've created new requests from here, but since I can copy and paste, why shall I be okay? Yes, that's that about that. So I'll just rename it to update details, right? Oh no. When you do that, you have to click enter from the instruction there. Update details. Update details, click enter, and then we're going to use what? The put request. You have to change it. If I leave it like this, it will tell me not found. If I hit it, oh, it's still on register. That's why I went to register and all that. But then it will show me if I do not change the request, which is update. If I don't change it to put, if I hit it, it will tell me not error, not found. Yes, cannot update, cannot post update because it cannot find it. But when we begin to use like error handlers, we will not be getting this kind of errors. We don't even like it like this. It's not a good one. We have to customize our own errors, and that's where resource middleware comes in, right? Yes. So in order for us to be able to update, so we're going to change it to what? To put, and then we're going to fill in the data as though we are now a user trying to update. So remember we said full name, right? Full name, and then we have age, and then we have what again? Address. Do like this. That's what we have. The naming convention of the field does not tally. That does not is not what is at the back end. If this is what the front end, of course, this is what the front end guys are going to be providing to us. If this guy is not what we have at the back end, it will not work. So the full name. Now the value does not matter because of course, if the person wants to call his name, his full name, Luca, it's not your problem. So let's say Luca Freeman or Freeman Luca. Freeman Luca is his full name and his age is 25. And of course, I'm going to leave it as an integer, not as a string. And then the address, which is Luca Avenue, number 36, Diado Street. Diado Street, Bo. Isn't it? Look at my address. Boko Benue Street. So whichever.
No, it's not.
Okay, yes. Our tutorial Freeman. That's his address. Look at it. Yes. So something like this. So now when we update this, the response should be what we should be expecting as a response also should be the updated details of Luca, both what he had already had before and the one he just imputed. So let's try it and see what we're going to get. Okay, so we check the response. Let's refactor something. Now, if Luca has updated his account, the response message should be what? I'm waiting for someone to. Some of you guys have not updated your account somewhere before, and you did not see any message that greeted you after you were done.
Successfully updated.
Register. Update successfully.
Is that what?
Update successful.
Update successful. Okay, so let's use. He said we should use update successful. So we are going to be using update successful, right? Some of these update messages usually come from the prototype or from the product persons that have worked on the app. So you will definitely see some of those things there. You know, just feel like this was successful, whichever, anyone. So update successful. So this enables the front end guys to see and to know that the update is successful. So when we hit this guy again, so this message is displayed for the person who wanted to, will be displayed on the app. He will grab it and say, okay, oh, my details were updated successfully. But then these details is what the front end guys will use now to populate the dashboard for him to be seeing his full name, his address, and of course his age where it is required. Now that is what we just did now is the put request. Now maybe the next one we will do is the patch request. Okay, I think that's going to be an assignment for us. So the patch request, I will explain what it is, and then I'll leave you to go and figure that out and then do that. It's nothing serious here. What does the patch request do? The patch request is basically used when you already have some details that you actually want to update. Update in the sense that you are trying to remove it and update it with a new one. Now, from the example we did, let's say Luca came in and say, my name that I provided here as Freeman Luca, I want it to be Freeman Luca the Bossman. Freeman Luca Bossman. Isn't it? Now, how do we affect that? Of course, you can you might want to make use of the put request to work, but then it's not expected of you to make use of the put request, but the patch request. Just as if you're trying to patch something, isn't it? Yes. So you're going to use the patch request to God's reframer. So you're going to use the patch request. You're going to use the patch request to update your details. So having that said, assignment number 1 for the day. You are going to write an endpoint, an API using the details that we have at the moment to assume that you have already created your details just like we had here, right? And then a patch request to update your password. Let your password be 1 to 9, but the patch request with your new password, so that when I clone your app and when I clone your app and I run it with my own new name, I should be able to, a patch request should work. How am I going to do it? I don't know. But I believe it's something that you have to figure out. Assignment number 2. Having learned the post, the get, the put request, use the delete request to delete the data that you are sending. Once you have done sending them, delete the data. When I mean delete data, it means that you are sending. I'm not aware. Do it. And so on the Telegram group, where we have assignments, you drop your link. Now, mind you, you're going to do that in the GitHub repo that we did work on. So I can tell you that every of the assignments will be coming in that repo you created the last time. So you're just going to update that, and then I will pull through and I will see them. I will still to Georgia. I will still together.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so please take note of the assignment and have it populated on the data. So the next class, please remind me, we'll start with learning other middlewares, and then we'll create routes and controllers. In the next class, we'll create middlewares and the routes and controllers, and perhaps also error handlers. Please help me take note of that and send it to me. And then maybe we might delve into setting up our database where we can be saving details. I think maybe we'll start with we'll do routes and controllers, then we set up our database. I think that's the first thing we're going to do. The first 3, and then we'll see how fast we can cover that. Once that is done, then we can move on to the other things. Please don't forget those 3 things: routes, controllers, database. Have it sent to me, DM it to me on Telegram. Right? Yeah, so now let's go. Any question? Let's take some questions now. Any question on the day? Any question of the day? Okay, so it means we are done, right? Thank you. Please brief us.
Sorry, sir. You didn't give us the day for submission, our submission date for the environment.
Okay, yes. The submission due for assignment is tomorrow.
Yeah.
As latest on 10 a.m.
So please, sorry, sir, please, can you give us, we've not, but we need to go back to check through the recordings to gain some understanding. We have not yet, we don't know when they will send the recordings. So I don't know if you can permit us to get the recordings and work through it before we can be able to do the assignment.
Sorry, I'm not getting you. You have to come again. Please, I want you to. I'll follow you. Okay, let's come and lock the door. Let's come and lock the door. Lock the door. Ah, come on. Yes, so one, ask again, and you have to be loud, please.
Okay, sir. So what I'm saying is, it's not like a question. I just want you to give us some time because we've not been able to get the recordings, and I'm so sure, of course, we need to go back to the recordings of this class before we can be able to.
You get the record on Telegram. I'll try to post it here on Telegram for you to take it, and then we check it again. Right? That's today's class, right?
Yes, sir. Today's class.
That's not the challenge. That was not the challenge. Any other question?
Okay,
Any other question?
yes, sir.
Or any contribution? Okay, so these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you and not to confuse you that backend JavaScript is a sweet thing to actually hold on to and to journey with. It's not. Is it true? True or true? True. You guys have successfully left me. Why not?
Time will tell, sir. Time will tell.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, everyone. Filima, your this thing is low, so I'm able to hear you. Filima, you can increase it at your end. Is it the microphone now? It's low, in case you want to say. So thank you very much, everyone. And we meet tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. God bless you all. Thank you.